Hey, sweetheart. You lost? The voice cut through the noise of the FOB cantina like a knife. She didn't look up from her coffee. I'm talking to you. The room went quiet. That kind of quiet that happens when everyone knows something bad is about to unfold, but nobody knows how to stop it. Lieutenant Marcus Kane stood there, arms crossed, fresh from a successful raid in Helmand Province, the kind of success that gets you mentioned in briefings, the kind that makes young officers believe they're invincible. She still didn't respond, just sat there, small frame hunched over a ceramic mug, wearing a faded jacket with no visible rank, no name tape, no unit patch. That silence, it felt wrong. Not the silence of fear, the silence of control. Have you ever judged someone based on how they looked and later realized you were completely, catastrophically wrong? This story is going to leave you absolutely stunned. It challenges everything we think we know about power and rank. Before we dive into this incredible encounter, please hit that like button and subscribe to Military Stories so you never miss a video. Trust me, you won't want to miss the ending of this one. It was 2011, Forward Operating Base Dwyer, Helmand Province, Afghanistan, a place where Marines came to decompress between operations, where the smell of dust mixed with diesel fuel and burnt coffee, where young men and women tried to forget what they'd seen in the valleys and mountains beyond the wire. The cantina was loud that night, soldiers celebrating a mission that had taken out a high-value target, the kind of mission that makes careers. Lieutenant Kane was at the center of it all, 26 years old, Ranger qualified, leading a rifle platoon that had just been commended by battalion command. He was untouchable, or so he thought. Marcus Kane had every reason to be confident. 48 hours earlier, his platoon had conducted a nighttime raid that resulted in the capture of a Taliban commander who'd been on the target list for 18 months. Clean operation, no casualties, perfect execution. The battalion commander had personally congratulated him. His men worshipped him. And right now, in this cantina, with his platoon watching, he wasn't about to let some random woman in civilian clothes ignore him. "You know this is a military facility, right?" Kane said, stepping closer. "You can't just wander in here." His men laughed. Not cruel laughter, exactly, but the kind of laughter that comes from pack mentality, from belonging to something elite. She took another sip of coffee, slow, deliberate, like he wasn't even there. Her hands were steady, not the steadiness of weakness or nervousness, but the steadiness of absolute control. Small hands, weathered. A scar ran along her right thumb, the kind you get from blade work, not accidents. She was maybe 5'4", couldn't have weighed more than 120 pounds, early 40s if you had to guess, though her eyes looked older. Her posture was wrong for a civilian, too aware, too centered. The way she sat, it was like she owned every inch of space around her without having to claim it. One of Kane's sergeants, a veteran named Rodriguez who'd done 3 tours, leaned over and whispered, "LT, maybe we should—" "I've got this, Sergeant." Kane moved closer, into her personal space now. "I'm going to need to see some identification." She finally looked up. Her eyes were gray, cold, empty of fear. "You really want to do this?" she asked quietly. Her voice was flat, no emotion, no challenge, just a simple question. Kane smiled. His platoon was watching. He couldn't back down now. "Yeah, sweetheart, I really do." Once, those hands hadn't been holding a coffee cup. They'd been holding a suppressed MK-18 in the Karangal Valley. They'd been setting charges on a compound door in Kandahar. They'd been applying a tourniquet to a wounded operator while under fire in the Pech River Valley. The mountains remembered her. The Taliban had a name for her, whispered in the villages where she'd operated. Malak al-Maut, the angel of death. But here, in this cantina, she was nobody, just a woman drinking bad coffee. "Stand up," Kane ordered. She didn't move. "I said stand up." The cantina had gone completely silent now. Even the guys who'd been celebrating it stopped talking. Rodriguez tried again. "Lieutenant Kane." "Sergeant, I gave you an order to stand down." Kane reached for her arm. The moment his hand touched her shoulder, something shifted in the room. It was subtle, like the air pressure changing before a storm. She stood slowly, setting down her cup with precision. 5'4" versus 6'2", 120 pounds versus 200. It should have looked ridiculous. It didn't. "Remove your hand," she said quietly. "Or what?" Kane smiled, playing to his audience. "You gonna file a complaint? Call your congressman?" "No," she said. "I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to apologize and walk away." Kane laughed. 5 seconds? What are you... 5. Her voice didn't rise, didn't change at all. "This is ridiculous." 4. "You need to understand who you're..." 3. Rodriguez was standing now, moving toward them, his face pale. "LT, seriously, we need to..." 2. Kane's grip tightened on her shoulder, his pride now fully engaged. "I'm not going anywhere until..." 1. What happened next took less than 2 seconds. She moved. Not fast, not dramatic, just efficient. Her hand came up, caught his wrist, rotated it in a way that made Kane's entire body have to follow, or his elbow would dislocate. He found himself stumbling forward, off balance as she sidestepped. Kane tried to recover, tried to use his size advantage. She let him. He threw a punch. She wasn't there. He reached for her again. His arm was suddenly bent behind his back, his face pressed against the cantina table, her knee in his spine, and he had absolutely no idea how he'd gotten there. The entire room was frozen. "You have 2 choices," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Apologize, or I dislocate your shoulder. You have 3 seconds." Kane's face was red with rage and humiliation. "I'm a United States Army officer, and you just assaulted..." Pressure increased on his shoulder. Kane gasped. 2 seconds. Okay, I'm sorry." She held him there for one more moment, then released him and stepped back. Kane scrambled up, his face purple with fury. "Do you have any idea what you just did? I'm going to have you arrested. I'm going to..." "Lieutenant Kane!" The voice came from the cantina entrance. Everyone turned. Colonel James Reeves stood in the doorway, the battalion commander, Kane's direct superior, the man who'd commended him 48 hours ago. But Reeves wasn't looking at Kane. He was looking at her. And then, slowly, deliberately, Colonel James Reeves came to attention and saluted. The salute hung in the air like a grenade. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Kane's face went from purple to white. "Ma'am, I take full responsibility for this. If there's anything..." "It's fine, Colonel." She picked up her coffee cup again. The lieutenant was just doing his job. Sort of. "With respect, ma'am, he put his hands on you. That's not..." "I handled it." The colonel nodded stiffly, then turned back to Kane. "Lieutenant, this is Major Sarah Chen, call sign Ghost, former commander of Operations Detachment Alpha 574. 5 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. She has more confirmed kills than anyone currently serving in JSOC. She wrote half the combat doctrine your platoon uses. She personally trained the last 3 SEAL Team 6 commanders. And 3 years ago, she pulled me out of an ambush in Kunar province after I'd been shot twice." The room was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning. Kane looked like he was going to be sick. "She retired 8 months ago," Reeves continued, "and she's currently a civilian contractor doing site assessments for SOCOM, which means she has clearance levels you will never achieve, Lieutenant, and you just assaulted her." Major Sarah Chen, Ghost, took another sip of her coffee. "Colonel, with respect, I'm not pressing charges. The lieutenant made a mistake. We all make mistakes. Ma'am, I said it's fine." But her eyes moved to Kane, and when she spoke, her voice carried across the silent cantina. "Lieutenant Kane, you're a good officer. Your men respect you. You ran a clean operation 2 days ago. I read the after-action report. It was solid work." Kane's face was still white. But you made 3 critical errors tonight, she continued. First, you assumed that because someone doesn't look like a threat, they aren't one. Second, you let your ego override your judgment. And third, you didn't listen to your sergeant. She gestured at Rodriguez, who was still standing frozen. Sergeant Rodriguez has been deployed 7 times. He recognized something was off. He tried to warn you. You ignored him. She set down her coffee cup. In combat, any one of those mistakes gets people killed. You got lucky tonight. You got embarrassed in front of your platoon instead of getting them killed in the field. She walked toward the door, then paused. Your men follow you because you're good at your job, Lieutenant. Don't let arrogance make you bad at it. And then she was gone. Colonel Reeves stood there for a long moment, then turned to Kane. My office, 0600 tomorrow. Bring your platoon, Sergeant. Yes, sir. Reeves left. The cantina remained silent. Kane stood there, his entire world rearranged in the span of 5 minutes. Rodriguez walked over slowly. LT, I tried to... I know, Sergeant. I know. Over the next week, the story spread. Not as gossip, but as a lesson. The intel guys filled in the gaps. Major Sarah Chen had been one of the first women to serve in a Special Forces operational detachment. She'd fought her way into every mission, proving herself in firefights and long-range reconnaissance operations that most men wouldn't survive. She'd been recommended for the Medal of Honor twice. Both times the missions were too classified for the award to be made public. In 2009, she'd led a hostage rescue in Kandahar that saved 12 NATO personnel. She'd gone in with 5 operators and come out with 17 people, 0 friendly casualties. In 2010, she'd spent 3 months embedded with the Taliban cell, gathering intelligence that led to the disruption of a major attack on Bagram Air Base. Her call sign, Ghost, came from her ability to move through hostile territory without being detected. Taliban fighters in the Korangal Valley believed she was a spirit, something supernatural, because no human could move like she did. She'd trained dozens of operators who went on to become legends themselves, and she'd done all of it while being underestimated, dismissed, and doubted every single day. The most dangerous people don't announce themselves. They don't need to. They don't wear their achievements on their chest. They don't demand respect. They earn it in places where respect is measured in survival. Lieutenant Kane learned something that night that no classroom, no training exercise, no successful mission could teach him. Real strength doesn't need to prove itself. Real warriors don't need to intimidate, and real respect isn't given. It's recognized. 3 weeks later, Kane's platoon was preparing for a mission in Sangin District. High-risk area, Taliban strongpoint. The kind of mission where everything could go wrong. During the briefing, Kane's commander brought in a civilian contractor to provide additional intel. It was Major Chen. She spent 2 hours with them, going over terrain, enemy positions, likely ambush points. She'd been in Sangin 7 times. She knew it better than anyone in the room. When she left, one of Kane's younger privates asked, "Who was that?" Kane looked at his men. "That," he said quietly, "was someone who forgot more about combat before breakfast than I'll learn in my entire career." Rodriguez nodded approvingly. The mission went perfectly, 0 casualties, clean extraction. And when they got back, Kane found a note in his quarters, just 2 words, in neat handwriting. Good work. No signature. She didn't need one. Later that night, Kane sat with Rodriguez in the quiet of their quarters. "How did you know, Sergeant?" Kane asked. "How did you recognize something was off?" Rodriguez was quiet for a moment, cleaning his rifle. 7 deployments, LT. You learn to read people. The way she sat, that's not how civilians sit. That's how operators sit. Always aware, always watching exits. And her hands? Her hands? Calluses in the wrong places for civilian work. Scar tissue on her knuckles. And the way she held that coffee cup? Left-handed carry, but right-hand dominant. That's someone who's trained to access a sidearm while holding something else. Kane absorbed this. "I was an idiot." "You were overconfident," Rodriguez corrected. "There's a difference. Idiots don't learn. You learned." "I humiliated myself in front of the entire platoon." "No, sir. You showed them that rank doesn't make you right, that ego can get you killed, and that a good officer admits when he's wrong." Rodriguez set down his rifle. "Half your platoon worships you less after tonight. The other half respects you more. The half that respects you more, those are the ones who will keep you alive." What Lieutenant Kane didn't know, what almost nobody knew, was why Major Sarah Chen had really been at FOB Dwyer that night. She'd been there to evaluate the base security protocols, not officially. JSOC had received intelligence about a potential insider threat, someone on the base passing information to Taliban forces. Chen had been brought in to assess vulnerabilities. She'd been sitting in that cantina, watching, listening, evaluating. And in the span of 5 minutes, she'd learned everything she needed to know about Lieutenant Kane's platoon. She'd seen how his men reacted under pressure. She'd seen which ones tried to de-escalate. She'd seen which ones enjoyed the conflict. She'd identified the ones with judgment and the ones with just orders. Her report to JSOC included a full breakdown of every soldier in that cantina, and Lieutenant Kane's platoon received a commendation. Not for their successful raid, but for the fact that Sergeant Rodriguez had tried multiple times to prevent his commander from making a mistake. Good units, her report read, are defined not by whether their leaders are perfect, but by whether their subordinates are willing to speak up when something is wrong. Kane's platoon has that quality. Rodriguez should be flagged for leadership development. 3 months later, Rodriguez was promoted to staff sergeant and selected for Special Forces assessment. He passed, and his first team leader in Special Forces was a woman who'd served with Major Chen. "Rodriguez," she told him on his first day, "Ghost said you were solid. Don't make her wrong." He never did. The story of that night became legend at FOB Dwyer, not because of the confrontation, but because of what came after. Young soldiers learned that rank isn't the same as authority, that command isn't the same as leadership, that the most dangerous person in the room is often the quietest. Female soldiers, in particular, took strength from it. They'd all experienced some version of what Chen had faced: the dismissal, the assumptions, the need to prove themselves twice as hard. Chen became a symbol, not because she'd embarrassed a lieutenant, but because she'd done it with control, without anger, without revenge. She taught a lesson instead of seeking humiliation. That's what real strength looks like. 5 years after that night, Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Kane was giving a briefing to a new group of platoon leaders at Fort Benning. The subject? Leadership under pressure. He told them the story, all of it, the arrogance, the mistake, the humiliation. "The most important moment of my military career," he said, "wasn't a successful mission. It wasn't a commendation or a promotion. It was the night I got taken down by a woman half my size in front of my entire platoon." The young officers laughed nervously. "I'm serious," Kane continued, "because that night taught me that respect isn't about size or rank or how many missions you've run. It's about recognizing that everyone you meet knows something you don't, has experience you lack, has earned something you're still working toward." He clicked to the next slide, a photo of Major Sarah Chen in full combat gear somewhere in the mountains of Afghanistan. "This is Major Sarah Chen. Call sign, Ghost. If you were lucky enough to serve with someone like her, listen, learn, and for God's sake, don't assume you know better." After the briefing, a young female lieutenant approached him. "Sir, whatever happened to Major Chen?" Kane smiled. "Last I heard, she was teaching advanced combat tactics at a training facility outside DC, and occasionally doing consulting work for JSOC. Do you still talk to her?" "No," Kane admitted. "But I think about that night every time I make a decision that involves my ego versus my judgment." The lieutenant nodded thoughtfully. "Sir, can I ask, did you ever properly apologize to her?" Kane was quiet for a moment. "I tried. Sent her a letter through official channels. Never got a response. Maybe she didn't need one. Maybe. Or maybe she knew the apology wasn't for her benefit. It was for mine. Here's what most people don't understand about respect. It's not taken. It's not demanded. It's not awarded with rank or position. Real respect is observed. It's the way someone moves when they don't know they're being watched. It's how they treat people who can't do anything for them. It's the space they give others to be wrong without destroying them. Major Sarah Chen could have ruined Lieutenant Kane's career that night. One word to Colonel Reeves and Kane would have been reassigned, his career trajectory destroyed. She didn't, because she understood something that many people forget. Humiliation doesn't teach, consequences do. Kane learned more from being released than he ever would have from being destroyed. That's the mark of a true leader. Not someone who wins, but someone who makes others better. Years later, now Sergeant Major Rodriguez gave his own briefing to a group of Special Forces candidates. "Let me tell you about the night I met Ghost," he began. He told the story from his perspective. The growing unease as he watched his lieutenant approach the woman, the recognition that something was off, the 3 attempts to warn Kane, the helpless feeling as he watched it unfold. "Here's what I learned," Rodriguez said. "Your job as an NCO isn't to follow stupid orders, it's to prevent them. I tried 3 times to stop what happened. I should have tried 4, 5, 10. A candidate raised his hand. "Sergeant Major, what if the lieutenant had ordered you to stand down directly? Then I would have disobeyed that order and dealt with the consequences, because some consequences are worth it." He let that sink in. The military teaches you to follow orders, but it should also teach you to think, to evaluate, to recognize when someone, anyone, is about to make a mistake that can't be undone. "Did you face any consequences for trying to stop him?" Rodriguez smiled. "Yeah, I got promoted, because Major Chen's report specifically mentioned that I'd tried to prevent the situation. She could have mentioned that Kane was an arrogant idiot. Instead, she mentioned that his NCO had good instincts. She protected him? No, she protected the unit. There's a difference. Most of the stories about Ghost were exaggerated. She didn't have supernatural powers. She couldn't dodge bullets. She wasn't invincible. What she had was 20 years of experience making life or death decisions, 20 years of being underestimated, 20 years of proving herself in every single mission, 20 years of knowing that one mistake, hers or someone else's, meant people died. That kind of experience changes you. It makes you calm when others panic. It makes you precise when others are reckless. It makes you silent when others need to prove themselves, because you've already proven everything that matters, in the places where it counted. The story of that night isn't really about Major Sarah Chen embarrassing a lieutenant. It's about assumptions, about how we judge people based on appearance, about how we mistake silence for weakness, about how we confuse authority with leadership. Lieutenant Kane assumed that because she was small, female, and quiet, she wasn't a threat. He was wrong about all 3. Her size meant she'd learned to fight smarter, not harder. Her gender meant she'd had to be twice as good to be considered half as competent. Her silence meant she'd learned that real power doesn't announce itself. And in 5 minutes, she taught him what years of training hadn't. The most dangerous people don't look dangerous. The strongest people don't need to prove their strength. And the best warriors don't need recognition. They just need the mission accomplished and their people safe. If your story reminded you that real heroes don't announce themselves, that respect is earned in places most people will never see, and that strength comes in forms you might never expect, welcome to Military Stories, where we tell the stories of the people who changed everything. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Lieutenant Kane's shoes? Thanks for watching.